Rock and roll. Kia ora, everybody. What's up? It is Robett. Welcome to another show. Now we're talking music. Very lucky to have a musical weapon of sorts that has helped all sorts of famous artists, which we can get into in a minute. Francis Dickinson, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you. Yeah, I had a little bit of a resistance to the bubble, but I've got to the other side and I'm kind of loving it. I'm not gonna lie.
Now, for those that aren't aware of established music, who you are, what you do, how your role, and where you fit into the ecosystem, tell the viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself and the game that is music.
Well, I guess I work in a specific area of the music industry. My job is to work as a development coach. So I work with singers and songwriters, and I help them upskill professionally. Often when they're coming out just as emerging artists, and help them put all the skills together that they need to go on and have a really successful career.
And you've been fortunate enough to talk through. Now's the time to name drop a few great big names which you've worked with. Who would some of those be?
Well, I mean, there's Lorde. That one always is a popular one to talk about. Yeah, gosh, you go and check my website. There's a client list.
There you go.
There's a few.
Now, what do you? Before you, I can't sing, I can't draw. I'm
Yeah.
uselessly creative with anything creative, but I am interested in the art behind the art, like the nuances of So say sports is I guess more my thing, but the like video analysis someone will do on. So when I was a snowboard instructor, and I could look at someone and I could see angulation of a knee through pants 100 foot away on the right. Like there's all these weird things that these worlds in the singing or music game. Is it more timing, tone, pitch, cadence? Like what are the kind of like how do you craft like when you look at it? Because it's an art, right? I totally respect. I can't do it, but I totally respect it. I mean, how would you
I love
describe
that
what you
question.
what you do? Do you know what I mean? Go there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's no different, if I'm honest. Like you're essentially training the muscles of your body to do specific movements to get an outcome. So I think that's one of the fundamental myths about singing, is that you're either born being able to do it or not. But how many hours did you put in to be like really good at snowboarding? Like put
A
in a few,
lot.
right?
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same. And you know that, and that's, I think that's one of the things I love most about my role is that behavioral science and the stuff that goes behind the application of singing and what I'm teaching. Singing is the subject, but teaching people how to build new habits in their bodies is the key. And how to muscle memory bank new skills. That's
Mm.
essentially what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
It's
and I just say that, yet you can't sing yet, but you could if you wanted.
yeah. 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 Okay. We'll move
Let's
on to
leave
the
that
next
for another
question.
day.
Yeah. I sing when I'm at the pub and these really, really, really big speakers, and I've had a few whiskeys, and then I think it's good. But apart from the rest of it, I think I stay in my lane. I'm very good at I stay in my lane. So what I was quite keen to maybe kick off about is um, COVID-19 has fundamentally shifted every type of business model, regardless of your employee, employer, any different vertical, any different industry, absolutely anything. It's changed massively. Now, before we went into lockdown, um, I like creation, I like content, I like media. I love consuming like live music is a big thing for me. Like I absolutely love it. If we're on holiday, going down at 5 o'clock to the front to the bar and watching the live music go on, like just the feel of live. But I had a funky feeling. I had some predictions about the lockdown. I said, I think we're potentially going to have, when you put creatives and you lock them in a room and you force them and you just leave them there, shit will get created because that is exactly what they do and what's come out. So I was thinking there's going to be crazy new TikToks. There's going to be like battle streams of like DJs will be doing stuff, and I had all these different things. But I also thought the same way there was war finished, everyone came back home, and a whole bunch of people got born in the 1940s, 50s, whatever, after World War II. I was thinking the same thing would happen after this, where a whole bunch of new creative and ideas and art and concepts and music would come out of it. What were your predictions before going into lockdown, or what you thought would potentially happen when it became, especially around maybe just creativity or music? Did you have some initial thoughts, or what was your headspace there?
Do you know what? I'll be really honest. I was in a reactionary state at that point. I wasn't even thinking forward.
Right.
And I'm really lucky in the sense that my work, because I work with people all over the world, I'm already online. So it's not a huge shift for me in my specific niche of the industry to keep creating and keep doing what I'm doing. But what I can tell you is what I've seen as a result of lockdown. And it's not surprising, like you say, like everybody in the music industry, they're just a big bunch of creatives and they're all used to having to be, flexible and dealing with change, and your income is up and down. That's part of the gig, right? We choose this because it's a vocation in a way, I guess. So you've got this, and I know bands that have just went into lockdown together. They're like, we got to find a place and kind of like pull
That's
up.
cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So, like I'm seeing people that I know, like clients that I know, all releasing videos and songs and things like that. Or, people are doing new things like Facebook Lives and interviewing each other. I love Ed Wacker's doing Enoho, which is a beautiful Friday night set where he's inviting on some singer-songwriters. So everybody's just gone bored. I'm just like really impressed and proud of everybody. It's an
Yeah.
amazing response.
It's for in the vlogging slash blogging world, one of my other predictions was that, if you put creatives in a room with blank walls, they will go and create. It's just what they do. It's what will happen. You put a keyboard there, shit's going to happen. Next thing you know, I'll be live streaming on Facebook. Simultaneously, I've also thought it's going to be a great filter for those whose worlds were interesting, but they weren't. Like a vlogger or blogger that does something and they go to the parties and all they need to do is just put the phone up and then that's the job done, because the work, the creation was done for them and they just were there, opposed to them doing the creating. And I've been really interested around the filter of the shakedown, that when you put creatives into a spot like this, now when it's like, cool, you've just got a webcam and a microphone, go. No
Yeah.
fancy parties, no private jets, no flipping, butt shots down at the beach. None of that other bullshit. It's just like, what can you create now? And I actually think from a creator's side, maybe not a musician side, but from a creator's side, it is whittled out so many people, because then all of a sudden they've realized, I actually can't create. Oh, actually, I'm not. Oh, it was that, not me. I was cool by default, not I was the thing. And so I'm wondering whether within, like, at the end of this, I think musicians are going to come out on top. A lot of the weaker creators are going to drop, but then there's going to be these other people that either maybe have humor or comedy or whatever that pop up to the surface too and get their expression out. How do you think this has changed the music game? How do you think it's changed it, like at a macro?
Fundamentally, the biggest issue that musicians have right now is how they're going to earn an income. They were never, I don't think any of us were ever on like a huge amount of money coming in. So the way it's changing is, I guess we're going to have to figure out, or musicians that relied on live shows are going to have to find a way to generate that income online through streaming or private online gigs. I'm not sure. That's a big part of it. What was your question again? Sorry, how do we?
No, how does the game change? How do you think the game's changed? And I think it's so right now it's tougher for musicians to have consistent revenue, because most of the time potentially it's either up or down. Now it's even more so. But when you zoom all the way out and you fast forward, do you think business models will change? Do you think, like, what do you think will change in the music industry after this? Less artists signed, more creators direct on YouTube as its own thing. Like, what's your take on the music game?
Oh, look, I think it's going to be like, power to the people. I just, everybody at the moment that I'm seeing that's reacting in a positive way and that's being proactive are all just independents taking control, and they're just
Yeah.
making choices. I mean, what else did people do as musicians anyway? That's pretty much their MO. So, if you, and I think I relate back to what you're saying. It's like, if you were just in this for, the brand and to look cool, then you're going to drop by the wayside. It's the people that have like the credentials that the past record that show that they can work hard and keep recreating themselves and reinventing yourself as part of being a musician. So I don't think this is out of the norm, but it's just how do you, it's already a subculture of New Zealand of people that already don't earn a lot of money for doing something that's really valuable. How do we support them with that? And what does that look like? Because I think your point about that sensation that you get about seeing music live, is we can't recreate that. I'm sitting in and listening to a lot of the evening shows and I love it. But it's not quite the same. So do we just switch to a new normal? It's like coaching. People were always reluctant to take a class online, but now everybody's just accepted it as the new normal. So will that happen? Will we all just go, okay, we're just going to adjust and enjoy it through our laptops? I don't know.
Yeah, I think I've been wondering about this a bit, and when you've got the option to go to something or you've got the option to see something, you always it's easier to see, but it's tougher to go. But the experience of the going has got more depth, right? Depth over width. Then when I think about a moment like this, I'm like, okay, would I right now pay $50 to watch a live stream of Drake? Probably not, right? Because I could just go to YouTube and I could just watch everything. But if I put on a VR, if I was at lockdown at home and I put on a VR headset to sit and move front row and physically be there virtually, I would probably pay $20 for that if he was live virtually and I was there. So I think there's going to be this different layering of, and I just came up with this then, but I was just thinking about of like, what would I pay for? I wouldn't pay to see it 2D. I would pay to go immersive if it was live. I wouldn't pay as much. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one because even at that point, right? I don't know if that's back my point up or not, but you'd pay $3,000 to go to a Singularity University conference for 2 days, or you can watch the stream on YouTube the next day for free, but there's 1,000 people there. Why? So maybe there's that intangible little piece too. Yeah, you wonder. But I do just maybe just quickly just back to you were saying about the some of these independents versus the ones that are signed. Will there be different approaches for how independent artists come out of this commercially compared to those that are signed? Like, I don't know how all that stuff works, but what's your take?
Classically, the route is a development deal, but that's very rare nowadays because everybody's producing music at home. So really, labels, for the last 10 years, even more maybe, have just been looking more for artists that are more fully developed that they can sign straight away rather than putting them through a program. So I don't know how much that's changed, but I do think, like it was interesting what you're saying about access to music. And, one of the things I recognize, and, I live north of Auckland, but that would be my main city. And one of the things I recognize is that we've got so much option to go out and experience live music, but, because there's so much overlap. So in some ways, some artists will suffer because of that, because there'll be somebody, with a higher profile on the same night that they're playing. But, maybe the internet's going to sort that out and stack it up differently. So we access things in a more organized fashion. But the other thing that was really interesting that you said about the immersion experience, for me, it's nothing to do with visuals. It's actually to do with sound. So if I could lay on the floor with like surround sound, maybe we're all just going to get fucking awesome speakers. Or I don't know, maybe there's going to be some new technology that comes out that really gives us that.
Sound is interesting. Yeah.
Because I think that, like for me personally, like my sensory processing is quite different. I have synesthesia. So I see sound synesthesia. It's just like it just means two wires in your brain are crossed, and so you get a different sensory feedback than your average person. So,
cool.
The classic thing is that it's a mix of senses. So for me, I hear sound, but I see color when I hear sound. So my experience of music is sensory, quite rich and different. So so when it comes to experiencing kind of like listening to live music, I'll only go to a gig if I know that the sound quality is going to be really good and that the venue is really good. So maybe it's actually technology is going to give us some of that on a more regular basis. I don't know. And in terms of
That's
those artists
interesting.
that are signed or not signed, you know, everybody needs a helping hand, and the music industry in New Zealand is beautiful. We have this amazing community. I've seen all of the organizations stepping up. I've just received an email this morning again. Music Helps have raised 300,000, was it? I think
That's
they've raised
great.
a lot of money. Recorded New Zealand are putting everybody's returns through early so people can access their money. Like, there's been a huge response. So, and I don't actually think that's different. That's how we roll. We're
Mm.
a community of people that are all looking to support each other, because we've all been at some stage at the bottom of the stack or the top of the stack, because you kind of slide around. So I think, I think the record labels will have a part to play. I'm not quite sure how that will change for them, but as a community, I think we'll come out. I hope we'll come out reasonably unscathed.
Well, there's this. It's always interesting because when you look at, I guess I come maybe more from a business lens with sprinkles on top, but from the business lens that people have come from, it's been very much like, let's get that rolling. But the sprinkles is the sport, the entertainment, the going out, the music, the that experience. And there's been this word that's been keeping popping up this last couple of weeks that we've been doing these is around hyper local resiliency, around really backing the local guy or girl, going to see, Steve that makes the best extra hot mockers with, flipping marshmallows from the cafe on the corner with the shitty sign. It's like just really by choice drilling down to support those people. And David Downs, who was on the show as well, he set up SOS Cafe, which is essentially a website which cafes can go and sign on to, and then all their customers can go and pre-buy discounted vouchers, I believe it is, or vouchers for it. And he had over like $500,000 in a week or something, which is incredible. And it's that thing of, okay, well, if they're going to back the local there, do you really think that I'm almost feeling as well that escapism and the sprinkles is going to be really wanted to be like, let's go down and watch that live show. Let's go get get a glass and let's go have some snacks and go check this thing out. And I think to redefine the experience about it. But the same thing's happening with sport at the moment too, where and we had buddies in the sport mix saying, the product has been average for a sport experience from a customer side for so long. Now is the perfect time where they can reimagine what those worlds look like and do it. Obviously, they're talking about 50,000 people, yada yada yada. But then I wonder with what it will be for music. I think there's going to be even. It's clear that there's a big, loving, connected, respectful ecosystem of music in New Zealand. This next wave will be like, cool, now how are we going to help them? How are we going to support them? What are we going to do there too? Do you get more hopeful or less hopeful about the future of New Zealand music after COVID? Maybe one from a community side and one from a commercial side.
Community side, there is definitely a realism about the struggle that's going to happen, and that there's some people and probably not going to come through this or need to, choose a different path. I don't know that everybody's going to get to the other side in one piece. And that's just the nature of the game, I think, in general with music, but this has put a squeeze on. Commercially, I feel hopeful. I feel like the world has been looking for ways to upskill in terms of how we access things. And, if you can, I'm not going to lie, if I can lie on my couch with some candles and listen to a beautiful live stream of an artist who I love, would I be prepared to pay money for that? Yeah, I would. And what else am I going to be spending my money on anyway if I'm sat at home self-isolating?
Mm.
I think we do really love our artists, and we do really, but the thing they're really good at is building a relationship with their audience. They have followers, they build communities around them because their music touches people and it changes their world. So I think that's got value, and I think that's what will, succeeding.
Well, surely I'm imagining all of the labels that have artists make a majority of their cash if they're on these deals or whatever from touring and concerts and gigs. I'm imagining now that cash is dried up. Surely they'd be thinking of platforms to commercialize in e-commerce. Is it virtual touring companies? Is it like, I mean, they've got to be down this road. From what the people that you've talked to, the landscape that you're in, and the conversations you're having, has any crew been talking about that type of stuff? Like, do you think it will come from the artists will create their own startups that are tech, or do you think the big dogs that have the big brands and the logos are going to do their thing and simultaneously lock in virtual things as well, like a Live Nation or whatever else as well? Like, how do you? That's quite interesting, actually. I wonder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's already evidence of that. I think the musicians are just rolling how they are, but like Vodafone and Spark, they're all putting on, there's virtual tours happening right now. They're all putting on shows and things. So I think it's the big guns that are going to come in and provide the platforms, because at the end of the day, musicians have to be left to create and be musicians. Otherwise, if they start having to create a tech startup, is that going to help them create, or is that going to just take time away from their art? The other thing that I think is really interesting about this, though, because I was watching, like, last night, Billboard were posting clips, of all of these artists like Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, all responding, and videos of them at home on their pianos just playing songs. And something that I think is really uniquely valuable about this world situation that's happening right now in the music industry is all of the pomp and the bravado of the brands has been stripped back, and people are just being seen for who they are. And I think ultimately that's one of the most valuable things that that can be accessed right now, because we all look to these artists because we see something in them that we love, and we feel empowered when we listen to them, or whatever it is, and we all want to feel connected and have some kind of relationship with them. And so seeing these artists actually become real people, I think that's probably one of the most inspiring and empowering aspects of what's going on right now, because all of the little kids and all of the teenagers that are sat around going, will I do music? Will I express myself? Will I create and put something into the world? Are seeing their idols become real, and that becomes a much more connected step to take for them. Becomes much more tangible, I think.
Yeah, totally agree. My as you were yarning, my headspace just went to the new models, and I was thinking that at the moment everyone's going very lateral, right? There's just so many different plays that have been had. Everyone's making these power moves, all the rest of it. And I was just thinking as you're saying that, I'm like, wait a second, why wouldn't Spotify launch? You've already got the subscription base for audio, and they've gone and made a whole bunch of acquisitions into podcasts. They've got music podcasts. Why wouldn't you then just partner with the same artists to do like a live virtual concert, upsell directly into it, and a live album release show that would then go? But then for them, it's a new revenue stream. They've already got the artists. They then align up the thing with it. Then they get a new revenue stream because they basically are commercializing a new format, right?
Totally. And
That's interesting.
It is interesting, and they're the guys with the power and the brains to do it. We need to let everybody play to their strengths.
Well, it's a different format, right? Like they've got the audio format, but then the touring company has a thing. It's like, well, if you can't tour, and like I saw a report, was it last week, saying that there won't be any Coachellas or music festivals to at least 2021, like all done, gone burgers, right? And I was thinking, holy shit, that is absolutely massive. So then you wonder, maybe instead of a touring company, maybe it's Spotify just launches its own. I mean, surely they've got thought about this, right? Like, or YouTube does it because they already, now Spotify would have more of a shot because it's audio first, then video as the upsell. YouTube they haven't made it pop the same way, so I'd probably go the other way. So I was just thinking out loud. That's not a dumb idea. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I'd pay for a live streaming album. Like, if you knew that at like 7 o'clock, you'd flipping Drake or Yo Gotti or whatever. I mean, obviously our music track lists might be a bit different, but if you could watch them at say 7 o'clock, and you could watch them release the album live with them in the studio or something, I would probably pay more. I would actually probably pay more to then stream it after to be able to watch them release it live. That'd be cool. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess we need to wait and see what everybody wants as well. The people who listen to music are going to have to give some feedback on how they want to receive it nowadays, I guess.
I just tagged in Spotify into the LinkedIn stream. Just so I like to timestamp some IP in case this then pops. I can then say I was historically correct with the idea.
Listen, I'll back you up on it. I was here.
You were there. So what do you think this means now for management? How does what happens there? Because they only get to like it's quite a okay. Maybe let's run back. For those who don't know how the music industry works in a
Mhm.
nutshell, for an alien, give us the 101
For an artist, for an
for an
established
artist.
artist who's out working, well, I can tell you that some big names manage themselves, but not everybody does. So you generally work with a manager who will help you do things like organize your studio time. So your job as a musician is to write your songs and get to perform them well. So polish up your skills. Your manager will be responsible for helping you organize gigs. You will have a booking agent for that. You will have a publisher who helps bounce your tracks out into TV and film. And then so I guess the truth is that every successful artist has a team around them of people that are helping take care of all of the admin and the logistics. So in terms of management, I just thinking off the top of my head, a conversation I was having with a manager the other day, and their artist. I think those relationships are really important because they, and when I'm on a development journey with an artist too, you kind of become part of their family. So it's not just that they're turning up doing, like emails. It's like they're actually going, look, you can get on this plane and you can go and make that album in LA, or they're flying out with you to do it. So there's definitely relationships in there that are key to people feeling able to go out and do their job, I guess. But how they're gonna make their money, like management is a cut. You have a contract and you basically get a cut of whatever the artist is earning. So again, it's all just but I can't imagine people just cutting and running. These relationships are stronger than that. So it will just be again, everybody will be redesigning, reimagining how they're going to move forward. And that works two ways, like if you're an independent artist currently with no management support, then finding people to move through your blocks with will be challenging. But if you've got a manager to back you up, that's a really valuable thing. So yeah, it's just going to be about reimagining.
So if you could, read like clean slate the entire music industry, start it from scratch. No one's signed, no one's not signed, but everyone's
Mm-hmm.
at home and everyone's creating from zero. What would be the two things you'd do differently?
Holy moly. Um,
Every
that,
artist instantly owns its own masters, go to
that's a
blockchain,
big
owned by the
question.
public.
Yeah. How does that work? Like my brain just goes because there are so many things. Yeah.
Wait, well, this is the.
Blew
It's
up.
always interesting because you're in it. You're so in it, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, if none of that existed,
What would
what?
music look like?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
like, what would you do differently? Because like, say within media at the moment,
I
media
take the power back.
organization.
I take the power back to the artists.
Yeah,
That's
right.
what I do. Actually, no, it's really clear. Like there's been, you know, um, the music industry exploitation is the word that is bounced around in contracts all the time and stuff and it's true. Like the big majors that are making money out of artists and getting big cuts of their earning. That's that to jump from being in an independent to being in that position where you're actually making good money and touring or releasing whatever. It's a big gap. So I would be wanting to put the power back with the artist because if they're good they'll succeed, right? If
Mhm.
we're all on a level playing field now, and that their creativity is yeah, if it's good they'll get out there.
So on that note, I don't know much of the ins and outs, but a 360 deal is good or bad?
Depends on the artist, depends what you want. So do you mean like a 360, like fully signed, doing all of the promo, doing
Everything. I mean,
everything?
I've never been signed, not in music, but I've just heard mixed reviews about this 360 thing from someone that's in the game.
I think I do. I really believe it's down to the artist and what they want. What's your vision? Do you need a team around you 24/7 to help you manage all of the the things that go with your career, and because you can't handle that, because you need to just have the headspace to do one very simple thing, which is to write your songs and sing them. Or are you the kind of person that likes to be fully in control and you've got the skills to make your albums at home? So again, it really depends on the artist, I think.
Mm. And I'm just wondering what potential new 360 deals will look like from labels after this. You know, where they're going to find that other revenue, where they, I mean, just it's, you always follow the money, and you always find interesting ways that people with more of it structure it to try and keep more of it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't know either. That's a question for Scott or for record label people.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not,
I should get.
I'm not really up there with that stuff, but
Yeah,
they'll
I
be
get it.
thinking, they'll be thinking about it and redesigning, I guess.
What do you think's the biggest like misconception about the music industry that people in New Zealand wouldn't know? Like, what's one thing that people would have not a flipping clue about? Like, what?
How little money successful artists earn.
Oh, funny you say that. So I'm from Aranui, Christchurch, and Scribe was from Aranui. And when he went gold with the Crusader, um, I thought gold meant 1 million copies because I was,
Right.
young. And then I thought, oh no, platinum. Maybe it's platinum with 1 million or whatever. And then it wasn't until years later, DJ Severe was giving me the 101, and he was like, nah, bro, I think it was like, gold was 10,000, platinum's 15 or something. And he's like, so I was like, wait a second. So you can go triple platinum and you sell, I don't know, like what, 40,000 or some shit, whatever the number was. And he was like, bro, like they would still be 100% like on the bus and stuff like that. They're not millionaires. Like if you, so go there, like give the 101 for what people don't understand about the little amount of money that visually successful artists have, but the reality being not so much.
Well, I guess you've got to take a look at where the income streams are, right? So, live music and gigging. And again, you've got to have, if we're talking about within New Zealand, okay, so referring back to your gold and platinum, it's all population proportional. Does that make sense? So in other countries, it will be different numbers based on how many people. I believe that's how it works. Um, but yeah, we're a small nation, right? We're not got a lot of people, so the consumers, there's not a huge amount out there. So if you want to do a tour, you've got to try and fit that in around everybody else that's wanting to do a tour, and whether you're like a mainstream pop artist who's going to get, who you've had some TV play so people will know who you are and actually come out and see you, or whether you're a new up and coming artist. Those like that's one income stream. Touring, then you're looking at selling your CDs or your music, so that's all moved on to digital, and you've got to have like a significant number of plays on Spotify to start actually making any money. You've got you do get live music returns through APRA if you play your music live, but again, it's not a lot, or if anybody else plays it live. Recorded music collect revenue for your music being played in places like pubs or restaurants, but again, that's going to be going down. That's not going up anytime soon. Yeah, so how do people really make their money in this small country? It's a big, it's an ongoing journey, I guess, and it's consistency of work. You can't just put a track out and it do well and expect that to keep you going. You've got to constantly be recreating and putting new stuff out. And I think the other thing that's really common here is that we tend to have like a portfolio of jobs. So, I think I referred to it earlier, like one of my really good friends and clients, he plays really successfully in a band. They've done like huge shows around New Zealand, but he also does pub gigs to help supplement his income, right? Other people might work part-time at a music organization like APRA and do 20 hours there. And then, because if you're not the artist and you're just the band member, then you're relying on the artist being really popular to get your income. You're standing up and playing keys. It's a much more patchy.
Yeah. Aaron Lloyd, one of my bros, he's one of the main partners at Minter Allison Rudd Wants Lawyers. He's a weapon. He said, set up a record label slash agency as a collective for artists so they all share in the profit, and non-artists shareholders don't take the profits. Oh, surely that's been done before. That's interesting.
So
Yeah,
what are they doing? They're
so you set up a record label, but the as a collective, so all the
yeah,
artists all share in the profit, but non-artist shareholders don't take the profits.
yeah.
So
When
you
you
can,
have some
you,
philanthropists in there that really just wanted to help out, I guess.
mm. Well, there's always talk about the future of money with blockchain this and so and so that and crowdsource this and so and so that. I mean, music in many ways has a very similar issue to the problem that media has right now in New Zealand. There's great journalists that create, but they can't get paid because the media companies have some bad business models which don't make it financially viable. Then they get bailouts and this and that and under and yada yada yada. So there's always this funky tension between the creativity and the commerce, right? And
Mm.
you know the creatives like, don't sell out, man, blah blah blah. And at the same time, it's like, yeah, but you need to make you need to buy in to make money to do the thing. So there's this. I think that tension's always going to be there. It's just very clear that potentially within music and obviously media at the moment too, that I guess I know a little bit. It's not as good as it potentially should be, which is interesting.
But also, I think it's interesting what you say about crowdfunding, because that's been going on for ages. People have been getting their communities, their fan bases to fund their next album. That's not uncommon. So maybe those processes are just going to become more of the new normal and more
Mm.
clear moving forward. Maybe there are things that are already set up that just haven't been utilized fully that are now going to become really, really vital.
I'm wondering if I was labels right now, I think the play I'd probably do is go and buy a collective of these little startup-y tech things to own their own platform and then do it yourself because you've already got the talent in it. You'd have to, right? Or you partner, or a collective of. Actually, I've got a. If I was them right now, I would look at what Apple did when they first did iTunes, which was they got the collective of the labels together to say, hey, I'll create the platform, you've already got the thing, and we do the rev share split. Surely the exact same thing must be happening right now where all the labels are like, cool, well, what do we do about touring? Okay, as a collective, do we go into this thing, blah, blah, blah. Maybe there's a play there for Tidal with Jay-Z with what he's doing. I mean, shit, I'm not in the music game at all, but from the outside, there's similar things which you can kind of pick. But on that exact note, Franz, I was going to ask, the development and education stuff that you're doing now, what percentage of your work is virtual?
100%.
Oh wow, just the entire thing.
Yeah,
Oh
well, I
wow.
mean, yeah. So, I mean, that's something I've been doing for the last few years. I've been able to make myself available to a lot more people, and I work, like I say, I work with people outside of New Zealand as well as within. Um, but it's also that thing. It's like, if I've got clients overseas on tour and they need
Mm.
help, like that's, getting up at 2 a.m. in the morning to take a call from wherever is not, it's not my normal day, but it's not unheard of. So it's really about how could I make myself available to more people so I can actually do my job and help them.
Is
And it
it
was really logical to go this way. Yeah, sorry.
no, no, no. I was just going to wonder in this world, do you choose kind of who you work with? Do you figure out like where you feel that you can take them and you obviously get the fit right? Like how does it work with pairing and matching for what you do? It's just it's these people go to the gym but they want a CrossFit guy here or they want a so and so there. Like how does it all work with that sort of side of things?
Look, I 100% agree. Like it's all based on that personal connection, and I don't really work with anybody who I first of all don't work with anyone I don't think I can help, and I don't really have that. I feel like I can offer something to most people, but they've got to really see value in what I'm teaching and in what I'm advocating in terms of like choices they're making about their vocal or songwriting development. I've done a lot of research and been my own guinea pig, for many years before I started coaching. I mean, it was an accident that I actually started doing it, to be honest. But just loved it. So you've got to have a really strong relationship. And I'm part vocal coach, part life coach, part counselor, part all of the things, going through any kind of journey is like got its challenges and its blocks, and so we've got to kind of carefully undo them. And so I've got to create an environment in which people feel able to take risks and make changes. Um,
Mm.
so so it's really about finding people that resonate with my teaching style, with who I am as a person, and also with the content that I'm delivering. I'm very science based. I'm very technical based, and so
Mm.
we don't just go over songs. We actually get into the nitty gritty and the mechanics of everything. And my goal is to teach all of that to my client as quickly as possible, so they can, go off and be amazing. Yeah.
Do you help like mentally or physically load manage artists for their voice based on tours and schedules? You
Yes.
do.
Do you mean like do I help them mentally prepare and that kind of thing? Is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
well, like well, I'm always just a sports guy. So Kawhi Leonard
Mm.
plays for the Clippers now. He won a thing with Toronto. He's the man. Um, he totally load manages his entire schedule around like I'm not going to play here. I am going to do this. I'm not going to do like he's very different to a lot of the other players that will just go 100 the entire time. You knowing where they're at in terms of their, I guess, vocal health, do you
Mhm.
help them navigate those things based on schedules, timings? It's almost you'll be part counselor, past coach, part almost manager to help them survive. Because I guess no voice,
Well,
no money, right?
yeah, part voice position, that's for sure. Like a
Mm.
lot of the work I do is about keeping people vocally healthy. If you're working every day, like singing, or even if you're in the studio or you're gigging, whatever, like you're putting a lot of wear and tear on your voice and your vocal muscles. So there's a lot of work that goes into maintaining your health, but also, I'm never front side of the show, but I'm always backstage helping warming people up, settling their minds, going through is yeah, there's a whole aspect of it, like getting in
Mm.
your mindset, getting your game on,
In the zone, yep.
all of that stuff. It's a broad, yeah, it's a broad and exciting role that I get to play, and I'm really privileged that I get to be a part of these musicians' lives. Really.
It's cool. Eh? And then before we go, I was going to ask you as well the scale, the time that you work with them. Is there ways to package up that IP to put into like courses and stuff for others 101 that can get it done virtually? Is there quite a big kind of virtual e-learning type market out there for those who are trying to get into singing that people like yourself brand up and do put out to the world? Is that a thing? Is that really a
Well, there's a lot of, I've been sitting with this for the last year because I've had a lot of requests for, courses, online content, that kind of thing. And my first,
methodologies and stuff?
yeah, my first response to the whole COVID thing was, how can I contribute? What can I put out?
Hmm.
But one of my integral points is about the quality of
Mm.
the teaching. So you've got to ask yourself, like, for something that requires so much feedback, like you say, you can see that knee angle from 100 meters away, right? So I can
Totally.
hear
Yep.
every change in the voice, but can your client? So asking people to go online and learn in a one-sided process to me isn't acceptable. So I'm definitely looking at ways that I can
Mm.
offer services to more people, but it's also got to be at the right quality. Otherwise, you're setting people up for failure because, as you know, practice makes permanent, not perfect. So if they're doing repetitions at home and actually that is one of the things I get a lot is people come to me and go, I've just done this online course with X famous person online
There you
and
go.
I've got this voice problem. So seeing people in
Ah,
person is really, in my opinion, is fundamental for knowing that you're doing the job right.
you kind of
Yeah.
wonder like there's always I'm always intrigued on though some that would say would be an unscalable business model with time for money, and I'm like, no. Well, if you had some control variables, like let's say, okay, if you go on my vocal course, you have to have a for X amount of dollars, you get the Shure 7 SMB mic with a USB into it, and it's the high frequency there. Cool. You do this entire course. Then we have our weekly Facebook live session with one to few. Then we have some one-on-ones. Like you just layer and layer and layer. But all these different things are actually opportunity. Do you then have them all singing into it becomes a safe group of trust to go through and look at the octaves in real time. Like all these, I always just wonder about how you like hey, just shake that shit up and do it differently, like, all right, because whenever someone says oh no, we can't, because I'm just like, no, you can, you just haven't gone wide enough yet. And I said, yeah, I just wonder, in the singing world, I don't know if it was a thing or not. Like a big one in the marketing thing at the moment is everyone's selling the course to be a coach's coach for a coach. And then there's some guy there with a Lamborghini going, I did it with, it was easy. Here's my $5,000 course. He's like, fuck. So anyway, before we go, oh, sorry, you go.
No, I think that's all possible. I don't say no. I'm not saying no, it's not possible. Like one to many is totally fine. It's about making sure that people get their work checked. That's the bottom line.
And I was the same for you, but in general, totally.
Yeah.
Before we go, I've got some advice. I need some advice. I need some help. Okay. I can't sing. I'm not going to ask you about singing. But what I have noticed, and it's a very serious question, is I've been doing these interviews, and basically I've been talking shit nonstop every day for probably about 5 to 6 hours a day straight, like just talking shit. And I got to last week and I was like, man, I'm talking a lot. I need to maybe look out for my vocal health. What are some tips for my vocal health to make sure I can keep continuing this great quality of shit talk non-stop on all social panels when it comes about the behind the scenes of business?
Yeah.
What can I do?
We need you to keep entertaining the nation. Well, you can drink more water. So it's really important to stay hydrated because you're good.
It's not water, but
no, I know. I always have a bottle of stuff on the go, whether it's water or not. Definitely got to stay hydrated because your body will not send moisture fluids to your vocal folds. It doesn't consider it important. It will send it everywhere else. So if you're slightly hydrated, your voice will suffer. That's the first thing. It doesn't matter how much tea and coffee you drink in the day. That doesn't count. 2 to 3 liters is my recommendation. Now, the next thing you need to do is you need to not start cold. So if you have not warmed up your voice before you start talking in the morning, just some gentle humming and a little bit of sliding will help. So if you come on
a little bit of what?
A little bit of humming, sliding around.
Yeah. Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Making some sighs, just warming up the vocal folds a little.
Got it.
They're covered in this is particularly delicious. They're covered in a slippy layer of mucus. So we need to lubricate them and keep them healthy. You asked, dude. You asked. You're getting the lesson.
I brought this on myself. No, keep going.
You totally do. And the third thing that I'm going to tell you is that if you're feeling tired vocally, first of all, you're going to call me up and I'm going to help you out with that. But the second thing is, you want to steam. You want to breathe some steam because it helps put moisture back onto the vocal fold layers, and that will clear out that kind of tiredness that you're feeling.
So what is
what
is the steam? What's the steam?
So just boil the jug, put some hot water in the bowl, and put your head over it with a towel. Or the way I like to do it is with a cup, and I just make a little funnel with my hand and very carefully sip the steam and breathe it in. And it puts moisture onto your vocal folds and it helps with that mucus layer.
Does whiskey help or hinder this equation?
Whiskey always helps, but not necessarily with your singing.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think we got there. This has been an insightful, interesting chat, Francis. I really appreciate it. The crossover between, just creatives in general in this new world of that balance of, creativity and commerce. It's such a funky one.
It's been lovely to chat. And, it's really interesting to see where everything's going to go. I just think we've got to innovate and we've got to keep talking to each other and something will happen.
No, appreciate it. Thanks heaps for your time, Francis. I'll talk to you soon.
Pleasure. Take care.
See ya.
See ya.
There you go. Tips. Hum. Warm up. Drink the steam. Just like that, team. I'll be doing this for days. See, now I'm a pro. And for all those that have asked and wondering, I will never tell you what's in the cups. Never. It's pretty good though.